Hey you all, so today I wanted to make a video about moving out of state, and I think this is something that a lot of people in my age group either want to do or they are doing it. So I wanted to make a video and share my experience and my advice to anybody who is thinking about moving out of state. So I'm gonna start with my story. I knew that I wanted to leave my hometown for years, and that is nothing against my hometown. I just felt like I had seen everything there was to see, I had done everything there was to do, and I just desired growth and expansion. So I felt like I needed to leave. I need to go see somewhere else and try to see if I can flourish there. So that was my mindset. And I started thinking like that when I was in college, but of course I had to finish college. And then after college, I actually signed a contract with a local hospital. So I had to finish that contract out before I could actually leave. So I'm going to tell you all this. God will make it clear when and if it's time for you to go. I'm telling you, He certainly did that in my case. So when I started my job, I absolutely loved it. Like, my coworkers were great. It was a great work environment. I liked going to work every day. It was all good. I was best friends with everybody. It was fabulous. When it got closer and closer to the time that my contract was up, it became almost unbearable. It was miserable. Tension at work was crazy. Like, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I feel like God did that for a reason. I just felt like I didn't for sure feel like I would have stayed, but maybe I would have stayed a little bit longer. But the way that things were going at work, I was literally like, as soon as this contract is up, I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere else. And I had always planned on moving, so that's what I'm going to do. So it was very, very clear to me. I definitely say pray and don't make, rash decisions. Like, when things first got bad, I thought about even getting a completely different job, but I just prayed, and God didn't say it was my time to do that. So I just waited out my contract, and then I left. So what I did to prepare, I researched so much. I actually found a travel agency. I'm a travel nurse, so I can stay in a place for up to 13 weeks, or I can extend. I can decide to go staff somewhere. So my plan was pretty much to travel to different places, live in different places, find a place that I like, and then decide whether or not I want to settle. So I was researching all types of different cities because my recruiter was sending me all kinds of stuff. So this is what is extremely important for you to look up. I highly recommend this. So I wanted to know the demographics of the city. I wanted to know safety questions. I wanted to know what the attractions were. Things like that are important for a lot of people. Whatever is important for you or whatever you want to grow in, that's what you definitely want to look up. Are sports important for you? Is entertainment important for you? Like, you want to know whether or not the city has a sports team. So look things like that up. Also, I highly recommend looking at the Census Bureau's website because it's facts. Their statistics and everything is always up to date. So I looked at that. Diversity was extremely important to me. So I would look at, the percentage of each race because I wanted to feel like I belonged. I wanted to be somewhere progressive. You can see people's median incomes. You can see whether or not they graduated from college and high school, how many people own their homes. You can see the percentages for pretty much everything. So it kind of paints a picture of the city for you. I also looked at blogs as well, like for people who had moved to the city. They would tell you like different areas of the town and different things to do while you're there. So that's good, but you also have to remember that blogs are people's opinions. So, it kind of gets shaky there. Like, definitely look at the Census Bureau though, for sure, because that's like straight up fact. So I researched that. I also, like I said, research areas of the city because you're going to want to know, like, all cities have areas that you shouldn't go to. Like, you should avoid, just for safety and security reasons. So I definitely looked that up. Also, lastly, I looked up my apartment. So I wanted to live somewhere that was kind of heavily populated, not like busy, but I wanted a populated area. So I felt like, downtown would be great for me. Also, I wanted to be very safe. So I found a place that was secure. You have to swipe to get in almost every single area in here, and there's cameras everywhere. And I love that because I'm 100 pounds and I'm by myself. So that was very important to me. Also, what was very important to me was finding somewhere that was all inclusive because I don't know how long I'm going to be in each place. I don't know if, this is going to be the place for me whenever I'm traveling. So I'm like, okay, I want somewhere that I don't have to open up, a contract with cable and lights, gas, and electric or water. No, I want somewhere where, you know, I just pay rent every month and that's it. I pay one person, and when my lease is up and it's time for me to go, I can go, no ties, no complications, nothing. So I wanted an all-inclusive place, and I also wanted a place that was furnished because I wasn't lugging furniture with me. Like, who was gonna move it in? Came by myself. No. So I wanted somewhere that had furnishing, had housewares, and that was super safe. There's a gym downstairs that's great for me because I can get lazy and not want to go sometimes. So all of that is extremely important. So definitely look all of those things up. Next thing that I did was secure my job, which sounds crazy, but I wanted to look up every single thing about the city before I decided, oh yes, I want to accept this job or I want to accept this contract. So that's the thing that I did second. Third, I talked to my pastor because wherever I decided to go, I definitely wanted somewhere where I could still be nurtured spiritually. I didn't want to like let my faith walk fall by the wayside just because I'm going to be in a different city. That just wasn't optional for me. So I asked my pastor for recommendations of churches because it's so hard to look a church up online. Like, you can't Google, is this a good church? Doesn't really work like that. So I asked him for that. The fourth thing that I did was started to pack. I packed for an extended period of time because I didn't want to just be throwing everything in boxes or crates or whatever very last minute, because then I would have left something. Like, I know me, I'm strategic. I'm not a procrastinator, so I needed to be very organized about it. Something that I will also recommend for you is those clothes that are in the back of your closet that you're like, oh, one day this is gonna go with something, or I'm gonna find this is gonna come back in style. Like, don't bring that stuff. Don't bring the pants that one day just maybe you'll be able to fit back into. Like, no, bring the things that you know you're gonna use, you know you're gonna wear, things like that, because you kind of have to, I mean, all of your things have to fit inside of a vehicle or a truck or whatever you're doing. So you want to be smart about stuff like that. So that's what I did. And it also gives you a reason to shop whenever you get where you're going as well. Like, you'll be fine. The last thing that I did was say goodbye. So I let my family and friends know, like, hey, I'm leaving. I had brunch with people. I had dinner with people, like little hangouts, just to say goodbye to a few people. And goodbye for my family was extremely intense. I had like a small dinner with just my sister and my mom, and it was, oof, it was a lot. It was very heavy. So I want to hang out here for a second because I think that people may be able to relate to this. My sister and my mom were very emotional because we're very close. We're all that we have, you know, for each other. And that's understandable. But seeing them being so emotional kind of made me feel bad. It made me feel guilty. And I started questioning myself and my decision. I was like, you know what? I am going to be really far away. And do I really need to move? But I thought about it and I'm like, yes, this is what I want for my life. And I think it's so important for us to decide to be selfish sometimes. You know, at the end of the day, my mom and my sister have each other where they are. They have extended family. They have a church home. They have familiarity because that's the town that they were born and raised in as well. So they have all of that. They have a support system, but I'm going away by myself and it's nothing but me and Jesus. So, you know, I had to realize that as well. And then I also had to remind myself, this is what God wants you to do. He wouldn't have placed this on your heart to move. He wouldn't have made a way for you. He wouldn't have opened a job opportunity. He wouldn't have aligned all of these things. He wouldn't have made you uncomfortable at your last workplace. He wouldn't have done all of that if this wasn't meant to be. Like, you'll be just fine. They'll be just fine. And those thoughts in your head, like, I don't want to move away from my grandparents because they're getting up in age, or I don't want to leave my parents, I don't want to leave my sibling, you know, I don't want to leave my friend group because they need me. Like, all of those things in your head, what is staying gonna do? Like, I personally, for me, I felt like, what if something happens and I'm not there? I'm not God. If something happens and I'm there, it's not going to make a difference either. So I had to remind myself of that. And then I also had to tell myself that my happiness and my growth, my personal growth, I have to put that first in my life. Everybody has their own lives, their own lanes. They have to do what they want to do to make themselves happy. And that pertains to me as well. I think, especially as women, we always want to make other people feel comfortable and nurture other people. But you have to be selfish sometimes. You absolutely have to. And I'm like, I can visit. I can even go back if I don't like moving. So definitely put yourself on the front burner. Like, go out there and do it. Be selfish for once in your life, because at the end of your life, when you look back, you're going to have to be satisfied with that. No one's gonna look back for you and say, oh, I'm glad that you made such and such decisions. Like, no, you're gonna have to wake up with the choices that you made. So, okay, off of my soapbox. Now, things that I wish I would have known before I actually left. I totally like did not look into the weather here enough. I love the South. I'm biased. My family is from the South, so I just like warmth. I like friendly people. I like grass, you know, things like that. So being like further up north, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so cold, it's so gloomy, it rains a lot. I just don't like that. I don't like that. So definitely look into the weather. I was just looking at like, oh, what is next week gonna look like, or you know, what does the season look like? But I mean, I had no idea that there was like very minimal sunshine. So yeah, look into the weather. Also look into like places to go for things, like things that you need maintenance wise. So I learned that when I got here, I had no idea where to get my eyebrows done, where to get my hair done, like nothing like that. You don't even think about those things. And then lastly, I looked into the different areas of town, but this is something that I think you'll learn the longer you stay somewhere. You can go to an area and you can go a little bit too far down the block or something and totally end up somewhere that you don't want to be, and you're just like, awkward. So definitely those things you'll learn. When I first got here, I didn't even know where to go to the grocery store. Like the grocery store chain here, yeah, anyways, I didn't know where to go. So those little things like that, they'll pop up, but you'll figure them out. So those are the things that I wish I would have known before I left. Also, I definitely don't want to end with my recommendations without giving you this. Definitely pray before you go, because I had prepared so much. I mean, I had everything packed up. I had told my family about all this stuff, and I knew that I wanted to be leaving, but something inside of me still had a little bit of fear, like just a little bit. I mean, I'll be honest, but I want to encourage you, just because you have fear, don't let that keep you stagnant. Fear doesn't mean, oh, I just should not do it, because the people that we admire, the things that we admire them for, I'm sure they did it scared. I'm sure they did it scared. You know, we think of the biggest entrepreneurs, the biggest businessmen, the biggest businesswomen, the biggest political figures, all of that. They've risked so much, and there's no way that these people, I mean, they're human just like we are. There's no way that they made all of these risks and all of these life-changing decisions and just absolutely were 100% confident in them and didn't think what if, or didn't have some type of fear in the pit of their stomach. But the difference between us and them is that they actually did it. And so I highly recommend doing it scared. If you got to do it scared, do it scared. I'm telling you, I had a little bit of fear in my stomach as well, but I just did it. And I got here and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm growing so much. It's only been 1 month and I've grown tremendously. I've gotten to know myself like no other. And I mean, it's just been a great experience. And I would not have known that if I would have just let fear keep me complacent and keep me in my hometown. So don't let fear stop you. That's another point I want to make. All right, so that has been my experience. And lastly, I just want to leave you with this, because I love me some scripture and it gives me life. But in Genesis chapter 12, God tells Abraham to go to the place that I will show you. He tells him to leave his family. He tells him to leave his land where he came from. And he tells him to go to the place that I will show you. Doesn't name the place in that verse. And that I can draw so much inspiration from, like so much fire came from that and just really pushed me to go, because Abraham was constantly obedient to whatever God told him. And every time that he obliged, God made a covenant with him, and God kept those promises, and he prospered Abraham and he blessed him. He blessed his life. So I think that it's important for us to oblige when God tells us to do things as well. He had no idea where he was going, no idea where he was going to settle, but he did it anyways because God pushed him to. And I'm telling you that God has placed this on your heart. You're watching this video for a reason. You're thinking about moving, and God has placed this idea in your mind and this feeling in the pit of your stomach for a reason. And as long as it aligns with his will, I'm telling you, something good will come from it. So definitely oblige, get out there and do it. So that's all I have for you all today. I'm definitely praying for you. I hope that you're inspired, and I hope that you're going to get out there and try something new, and I know that you're going to flourish wherever you end up. Thank you.